Memphis, Tennessee music, history, and Southern charm. Every aspect of the city of Memphis, Tennessee is fascinating. Today we want to take you through a bit of the city's history, music, and Southern charm. As we venture into the history of Memphis, we can't exhaust all that we have to uncover in just one chunk. However, let's limit ourselves to its music history. This will put in the right context and perspective Memphis's modern title as one of the music headquarters. Much has been said about rock and roll, Beale Street, and barbecue in this home of blues. We will try and isolate the relationship between each of these and others as we go back in history. Please do not hesitate to express your thoughts about this. The influence of geographical location on hospitality. Perhaps someone needs to be reminded of where Memphis is located. It's in the southwestern corner of Tennessee, where it sits atop a bluff across the Mississippi River. The city is a few miles away from the Mississippi state line. Since it is in the Mississippi Delta, it's like other places in the area. It's brimming with authentic and impressive Southern charm and hospitality. But the uniqueness of Memphis is boldly spelled out in all these as apparent in more than 60 attractions in the city. Yes, there's a host of hotels in the city where hospitality is taken to the next level. Still talking about the city's hospitality, it's a timeless tradition. The charming southern city is warmer and more welcoming than most of the other big cities. The Memphians you'll meet everywhere will greet you as though you were a family. They're sure generally well-mannered and considerate. Their warm-heartedness and the desire to share their stories are demonstrated by the art installations, hidden gem hangouts around the city, and intimate listening rooms. So they feel good offering suggestions to anyone who could benefit from them. This certainly is not a city of prejudice, as racism in all forms isn't tolerated. Urban wildlife and adventures in Memphis. Before we continue, let's tell you a bit more about the attractions in the modern city, especially for animal lovers. This will further define its southern hospitality. A five-star hotel in Memphis is Peabody. It's home to a splendid brigade of ducks that entertain lodgers as they bask in the ritzy hotel lobby fountain during the day. It's not unusual to see crowds gathering from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily to watch the critters' ceremonial march from their penthouse home down to the fountain about midday and return early in the evening. What a delight to watch admiringly! We can also tell you about O'Sullivan's, which is located on Beale Street. It serves great barbecue, but that's not the main attraction. It's the beer-loving goats that you see climbing the goat tower to guzzle beer. Another adventure we would love to talk about is the Bass Pro Shops located at the Pyramid. It features an alligator habitat. To see a panoramic of Memphis, let the largest freestanding elevator take you up. You can absorb unforgettable views of the huge Mississippi River and Big River crossing. You can choose your appropriate and delightful means from canoeing, kayaking, and strolling. Zoos and museums. We haven't even considered zoos, which are in no short supply in the city. The most prominent among these is the Memphis Zoo. The zoo, first created in 1906, is home to at least 3,500 animals, including those that are not easy to come by, like monkeys, panda bears, hippos, and lions. What about the host of museums in the city? Consider the Children's Museum of Memphis. Here, there are various hands-on interactive exhibits. It also features programs and creative learning opportunities. As per the last check, the admission ticket is only $15 per person. At Fire Engine House No. 1, you'll find the Fire Museum of Memphis, where members of the public can be educated about fire and life safety under an adventurous circumstance. You need to pay only $10 if you're an adult to gain entrance to the museum. While students and seniors are to pay $9, admission is $8 for children. Just before we shift gears, the National Civil Rights Museum comes to the fore. Located at the Lorraine Motel, this museum highlights the civil rights movement with its exhibits, oral histories, 260 artifacts, more than 40 films, and interactive media. History of Memphis music in overview. Any attempt to discuss American music would be an exercise in futility if Memphis isn't mentioned. The history of music in Memphis is as old as the city itself. More than a century ago, the city was a melting pot of African American commerce and culture. Since it was an important route during the slave trade, the enslaved blacks were attached to their tradition handed down from generation to generation. Even if their bodies were enslaved, their souls couldn't be, and the music was the food of the soul. As they eventually got their freedom, they and their generations became the foundation for modern-day blues. This explains why the likes of W.C. Handy, often called the father of the blues, were prominent in the early 20th century. Handy brought his band to Memphis to play in some of those clubs lining Beale Street in 1909. There and then, he showcased this distinctive style of music. We can also list other musical greats like Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash, Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, B.B. King, Howlin' Wolf, Booker T. Jones, Eric Gales, Isaac Hayes, Al Green, Alex Chilton, Justin Timberlake, The Silvers, Jay Retard, Zach Myers, 3-6 Mafia, among many others. These musicians were raised in or around Memphis. Let's focus more on the history of music through the lens of African American music. Since the early 20th century, Memphis had been known for its innovative strains of African American music. These include blues, gospel, jazz, soul, and rhythm and blues. Some of the musicians mentioned as having grown up around Mississippi performed regularly in Memphis. In discussing all these, the influence of Beale Street cannot be ignored. That neon-lit street was host to many nightclubs and blues. Two history-making giant locations. Among other great locations telling the story of music in Memphis, Tennessee, are Sun Studio and Stax Records. Sun Studio, at 706 Union Avenue, was established by Sam Phillips, one of the founders of rock and roll in 1950. It was a fusion of the Memphis Recording Service and Sun Records. Until 1969, it was the only producer of some acts and artists mentioned earlier, especially B.B. King, Ike Turner, Jerry Lee Lewis, and the king of rock and roll himself, Elvis Presley. The young Elvis, who frequently listened to gospel and soul music, got his inspiration and approached this studio to record a track. Though initially unimpressed by his first recording, the studio gave him a chance to do more of what he was delighted to do. As for Stax Records, history took another dimension. Born in 1957, the original Stax was first named Satellite Records. It wasn't until 1961 that the name was changed to Stax. Its role in the promotion of American and Memphis soul cannot be overemphasized. Gospel, funk, and the Delta blues also got a boost from Stax Records. Perhaps its most renowned star was Otis Redding. After the death of Otis in 1967, the studio had to struggle to remain in competition with Detroit's Motown to keep its place and relevance. Local music and genres. In 1977, the U.S. Congress officially voted to recognize Beale Street as home of the blues. Some of the facts considered are what has been discussed in this video. The blues is a reflection of the soulfulness and grit which are so deeply rooted in Memphis's history. Bluff City was where the electric guitar was introduced in 1945, and new entrants into the music found a nice welcome in the city. Today, there are 3 specific landmarks in this city serving as a tribute to the city's musical history and heritage. They're the Blues Hall of Fame, located at 421 South Main Street, the Rock and Soul Museum at 191 Beale Street, and of course, the Stax Museum of American Soul Music, located at 926 East Macklemore Avenue, the site of the original Stax Records. The music of Memphis has definitely evolved from its long, rich history. As we've seen, the legends of the past have done a great job of creating a legacy that newer and upcoming artists can only hope to imitate, as they can never really duplicate it. Beale Street is also a great place to connect with Memphis's musical past, present, and future. Just a walk on this street invokes the memory of its great musical exploits. Please, we want this discussion to continue in the comments section. What would you like to hear more about or add to Memphis's history, music, and charm? Kindly let us know. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.